3 takes, no record button. Coffee did not work this morning. Hi everyone, welcome back to What's Sewing On. Today I'm going to be going way outside my comfort zone. I'm going to do something I've never done before, something I barely wear and I barely own. I'm going to be making myself some pants. Now I do own pants, but I'm more of a skirt, dress, nylons, leggings type of person. I don't really wear a lot of pants. I think I own like 2 pairs of jeans and a handful of trousers. So it's not something I go for very often, but I'm thinking maybe if I make my own, that might make me start wearing them more. Probably not, but you know, you can try it. I also really want to make pants because I think there is a lot more work to them because you have a lot more different measurements with the length, width, waist, hip, all of those types of measurements, and you have to make sure that they fit you really well. Whereas a skirt, you can kind of get away with a lot of fitting issues because it's more flowy. So I am a millennial, and the most typical pair of pants that I do have are usually skinny boot cut, maybe a little bit of a wide leg. I don't really have that many trousers that have anything bigger than a boot cut. So I thought, you know, I'm already going way outside my comfort zone. Let's just blow past it and make the widest leg pant possible. If you didn't catch that, I said widest pant leg possible. I think. I don't know, it's a blur. So the pattern I decided to go with is Vogue 7178. I really like the look of these pants. They have a pleat kind of detail in the middle, which I think is beautiful. And I think I'm gonna go with the full floor length or evening length as they call it. I do like the ankle length, but I think if I do end up liking the wide length, maybe I'll make that for a spring summer look. So there looks to be about 6 darts in the pants. That's not too bad. And they have a bit of pleating. They do have pockets and they're attached to the zipper. So these are all things that I've done before. So it's not too scary yet. My biggest concern for this is this pattern is actually about 4 inches too small for me. So I'm going to have to grade up the pattern, which I've never done before. I've had to take it in a little bit, but I've never actually had to go up that much. So I'm a little bit worried, and I have looked into it, and I know you can cut your pattern a certain way and then you can expand it that way, or you can bring it in. Unfortunately, I don't want to do that because I'm worried about adding way too much more length to this bottom. These are already scary wide enough for me, and I'm terrified to add 4 inches to the bottom of these pants. So that's not something I want to do. I'm thinking what I can do is shift the pattern a little bit, add the extra width that I need, and then I can grade it into the hip. The hip measurement on the pattern itself is actually what my hip measurement is. It's just the waist that's too small. So hopefully by just shifting the pattern, it will be good. I don't really know. And for the fabric, when I was organizing all my fabric stash last week, I ended up finding this really great, massive tablecloth. It's like a dark bronze. It's like a brown kind of gold color. It's beautiful. And I was holding it up being like, what do you want to be? And they basically screamed pants to me. So I figure I'm just going to go with my gut, make them pants. So I guess I'm going to just jump right in. I'm going to go and take the pattern, measure it on top of the tablecloth. Hopefully it fits so I can just start cutting. Obviously ran into some problems. I don't know if it's just because I took a week off and my brain is not functioning in sewing mode, but I think I figured it out. It's all started because I want the lines to go up and down. That's already in the pattern. This side is the stretchy side, so obviously I want my waist to be going this way. Just laying it flat, it obviously didn't fit. So what I did, there is a hem all the way around. I was hoping I didn't have to use it, but I'm going to because there's not enough room. There's quite a bit of fabric there, so that will give me enough room to actually be able to lay out both pieces flat. And then I can add some extension on the waist because there's a lot of room. Other than that, I think it's going to fit. So I'm going to unpick both sides. That is just the folded edge, so I don't have to do anything for that. But this one, I'm going to have to unpick it as well. And I think what I'll do is I'll use the pleated part between the legs here. It's been folded over and stitched together for however long. So I think if I put this in the pleated part, you won't notice it as much, I'm hoping. And then I have plenty of room up here for pockets and figuring out what I'm gonna do with the waistband. So crisis averted. What's the problem? Yo, I'll solve it. Check out the hook while my DJ revolves it. mad at me? What's your problem? Are you angry? So now what I'm going to try, because I know that I need to add extra width on the top because this pattern is too small for me, I've traced out all along the outline of the pattern in chalk. Now I'm going to take the pattern piece off and I'm going to move it over, and then I'm going to basically just grade it down until it goes with the seam on the bottom, and then use what I've drawn here to cut out the inside. And then on the outside, I'm going to follow along the top of this seam allowance until I get down to the chalk portion, and then just continue down that way. So I put in the darts, then there is a seam line near the center. So I had to put both fronts together, pin them together, and then stitch down that seam line, which I did. Now it's saying I have to stitch back and front together at inner leg. Ooh, ooh. I did not miss that feeling last week. Go stitch these. So the inner legs are stitched together on the front and the back. Next step is to pin front together and back together, and then stitch all along the crotch line. Ow! I'm so worried about the pleats. I don't understand the diagram, but I am not there yet. So let's just go and do this. Pants are stitched together. This is the front I'm working with first. So this is basically where I have to stitch the pleats, and this big panel is going to be the pleats. So what I think you have to do by the diagram is open this up with all of the other material out of the way, which is not the easiest. You open this up, and that's basically how large your pleat is going to be, and then you just fold this down, and then now I press it, and now I just go and stitch right across here, but not on the outer fabric, just right up to the pleats. So I'm gonna go give that a shot. Okay, so I went and did that, and I just wanted to say I was wrong before. So I guess as you sew, you kind of start realizing before you even make mistakes, because it just doesn't make sense. I kept thinking, like, what did they mean by keep garment free? What does that mean? And then it just made sense that obviously you're not stitching through the front of your pant, because you're just going to have a seam line going straight across your crotch. So obviously you're going to want to just sew these. So you start at the middle seam and then you sew to the end just with the pleat. And you do that again. You start on this side and then you sew up just with the pleat. So there, I have pleats in the front. So now I just have to go do the exact same thing to the back. So I'm going to go do that now. So the back is done. Now it's time for the zipper. You're the one sleeping where I'm working. I mean, I don't hate them. I'm definitely coming around with them the more I'm wearing them. I think I'm just not used to wearing something that's such a statement, especially in the pants department. So maybe that's just something I have to get used to, but I do really like the look of them. They turn out the way they were supposed to. It's just not something I'm used to seeing myself in, which maybe is something that I have to come around to. Again, I think they're just more of a statement than I'm used to. I don't really have any pants that scream like drama, so maybe it's just something, again, I have to get used to, and I'll find a perfect occasion for it. I think winter is not the occasion for these pants, or a rainy day. They're definitely designed, and I hem them so that I would have to wear a heel with them. They just come a little bit off the floor. So walking in snow or walking in rain is just a no-go. But I think the perfect day would be like April 25th with a light jacket. No, I think the perfect day would be a nice autumn day, a cool, crisp day with a lot of crunchy leaves and you can hear them swishing through the leaves. I think fall would be the perfect time to wear these pants, so I'm definitely gonna have to bust them out in fall. So some of the issues that I noticed, I'm not really sure if they're too big, but I think they are, so maybe I'm right. I just feel like, you know, they're more of a blanket store-bought brand size, which isn't necessarily a bad thing, but I'm thinking if I'm, you know, making my own stuff, it shouldn't look like that. It should look like it fits me perfect, which is obviously going to come with time and practice. And I guess it's good that I am seeing that now. But I just find, you know, there's a bit of gaping in the back. It's a bit loose around my waist. But then again, I don't really want something that's super tight, and I don't think these pants are supposed to do that. That being said, I did, once everything was put together, I elongated the darts and I actually made them a bit wider to take in some of the extra bulk. Maybe I could have went in and did a little bit more with that, but I thought I did enough. But once, you know, the waistband was on and everything was kind of put together, I did notice that I probably could have made it a little bit bigger, which is something I could probably go in and fix, but I just kind of want to see how they feel after wearing them for a day before I go and alter anything. I think that also kind of brought me to my next issue, is that once the pockets were on was when I went in and did the darts, which I think made my pockets a little wonky because they're not lying flat. And I've done pockets before and I think I've done them pretty well, that they have fit nicely. Then again, because they are a trouser and it's more of a rounded than, you know, a skirt that's more of an A-line, maybe that's something that I'm just not used to. So I did press them and they look decent, but I think that they could definitely be better. And I think maybe my issue was doing the darts after I put the pockets in. And that's kind of where I'm running into, I don't really understand. Maybe I'm supposed to, you know, put everything together and then the side seams do a base stitch all the way up the side to try them on, and then fix, alter before I put in the pockets would probably be best. But I guess I've, you know, just reading the pattern, I just follow those steps, and I didn't really think that I should probably do it this way. So that's something that I'm probably going to try next time for sure, because I think if I would have known before I put the pockets in, I could have fixed it nicer than after. That being said, I don't really understand how to use a serger with pants, especially with pants like with this much detail, because with the pleat, a lot of the seams have to be pressed open. So I don't really get how you can go in afterwards with a serger whenever you're only serging one side. I feel like that would be really hard. So maybe I'm supposed to serge a lot of the seams before I put things together. But again, not having that in the pattern and not really knowing, I didn't do that. So maybe that is something I should do. Normally I'm used to serging after I've already put it together. So that could be something I try in the future. I know this all boils down to making a mock-up, and I completely understand why people make mock-ups. I understand, I get it, but I just have a problem with like wasting fabric. And for the most part, everything that I am making, because I'm using thrifted material and like a tablecloth, it is basically a wearable mock-up to me, because I have a really hard time thinking about making a mock-up and then just, you know, throwing it out or never wearing it again or throwing it in a scrap pile kind of thing. I want to, every time I make something, be able to wear it and use it. But again, I know that's making me run into these issues of sizing and fitting and all that kind of thing. So I kind of understand why maybe I need to start doing that. But at the same time, now that I've made this, I can still wear these. I think if another sewer saw them, they'd probably point out the issue, but I think the average person probably wouldn't notice those little details that I am. And then if I do decide to make these again, at least I've done it once, so I can make my changes for the next time. Thank you so much for watching. I hope you enjoyed this video. If you did, please give it a like, and I hope you subscribe. I will see everybody on Monday for my next video. I'm sorry, but you need to have a bath. Where's my finger? Oh, I chipped my nail. I don't usually have nails to chip. I just want the full-blown floor-length plant. Ah, I said it wrong.
Sorry.
Yeah, you are. I was just about to say something, and it may have been funny. Okay, why?